Good Friday morning, friends. Welcome to another episode of the Finding God in the Dark podcast. My name is Don,
And my name is Jonathan.
and let me start off today's episode with a huge apology to Jonathan because we did all of this yesterday, and silly me forgot to hit the record button before we started. So we're doing it again today. Uh,
We're Methodists. Grace abounds. No big
Uh,
deal.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. So this today we're talking about the 2000 film Almost Famous, produced, written, directed by Cameron Crowe, starring and after yesterday's discussion, I have a lot more of the names in my head, right? Uh, Kate Hudson, Billy Crudup, Frances McDormand, Philip Seymour Hoffman,
Yeah.
quite a number of notable names in this film. Anna Paquin, Zoe Deschanel. Um, it is a semi-autobiographical story of Cameron Crowe's teen years
Yeah.
as a reporter for the Rolling Stone magazine. So, um, this was a all right. This is a really cute movie. Uh,
Yes.
I didn't know what to expect going in. I'd heard some positive things about it, but I had not seen it before.
Yeah. Mhm.
And it's an adorable film. It,
Yes.
it really is. I mean,
Yeah.
and well, okay, let's get to the themes, and I think we can talk about, I'll
Sure.
gush about it a lot later, but
Yeah. Yeah. And
um,
I'll gush about it too. I like the movie a lot.
good. So where do you want to start on this, John?
Um, I think an interesting place to start is Cameron Crowe. Watching this reminded me how much I love his movies and wish he
Mhm.
made more. Um, but I really like the fact. I know some people complain about it, but he sprinkles his movies with kind of magic and hope. And I think probably as a Christian, that's something that speaks to me a lot. So
Mhm.
even though he is very honest and very tough about the fact that the music industry can be really nasty, that bands can really use, especially their female fans and groupies, he also chooses to end the movie with reminding us of the magic of music and the power of music and why people do this and why it means so much to so many people. And I just love that.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned the music, the soundtrack in this
Yeah.
film, and again,
Yeah.
I'm going to refer to things we said yesterday that nobody else knows, but um, that Cameron Crowe was for a period of time married to Ann Wilson from Heart,
Yeah.
and apparently she had a lot to do with choosing music for the soundtracks of the films that he did.
And I
Films
don't know if
like
she did the score. Yeah, I don't know if she did the score for this movie, but she did the scores for a lot of his movies.
There you go. But films like Jerry Maguire and Fast
Yeah.
Times at Ridgemont High and
Yeah.
things like that. So if you're looking at Cameron Crowe films,
Yeah.
um, and you're enamored or you really love the soundtracks, you can thank Ann Wilson for that
Yeah. Mhm.
in a lot of ways. And
Yeah.
being a fan of classic rock, hey, Heart, that was cool,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's neat to hear. Because when I did a little research, did looked at Wikipedia about Cameron Crowe, and it's his spouse Ann Wilson, and I went, "That Ann Wilson? Wait a minute, let me look."
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, you touched on also one of the other things that's kind of a prominent theme in this film, and
Yeah.
that is that there's this dynamic relationship between William, the main character, the Cameron Crowe character,
Yeah.
and what's his name? Lester
Yeah.
Bangs, who is
Yeah.
the editor of Cream magazine.
Yeah.
Lester is this very cynical kind of, like you don't make friends with the band, just,
Yeah.
be objective and yet William kind of has this very well, the way you wrote it, this childlike wonder
Yeah.
about being on tour with this band and all of the, all of the things that he sees. And some of the things are not great. Some of the things are very eye-opening for a 15-year-old kid.
Yeah.
But ultimately, in the end, Crow gives us that scene where William really retains that childlike wonder.
Yeah.
And Lester is just like the polar opposite of that, the cynic,
Yeah.
like these guys, don't be friends with these guys. These guys are not your friends. They just want to use you, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and it's an interesting dynamic that runs all the way through. And
Yeah.
it's almost, and I think this is really relatable for us as clergy. It's
Hmm.
almost a power dynamic,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because as clergy, whether you want to admit it or not, you do have a modicum of power.
Absolutely.
And there are people that will want to be your friends to wield your power. you
Yeah.
know and where do you draw the line on those things sometimes?
Yeah.
uh and I guess a film like this kind of forces you to think about that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think this speaks a lot to what I would argue Christians are called to do, but also for Crow, I think he sees it as kind of the balance of life that we all need to find, which is we need to be honest, we need to look at things realistically, but also we shouldn't lose the reality of the magic of life, of the childlike wonder, of the reality that life is amazing and full of these magical moments, and we should appreciate them, even when we have to be realistic about negative things that are happening or things that should be stopped or we should stand up against. We shouldn't forget the fact, we shouldn't completely lose ourselves in cynicism and forget that this is an amazing ride we get to be on.
And there's another, I mean, sort of related, this idea of, and I think it focuses more on a group of characters in the film, okay, that most folks would call groupies.
Yeah.
They call themselves band-aids.
Yes.
They are fans of the band
Yeah.
and they follow the band
Yeah.
or they tour with the band, but they don't, well, they claim they don't have sex with the band, but
Yes.
that's a
Yes. They
that,
they see themselves in the. I doubt they would. The characters would have this kind of philosophical lens, but maybe they kind of see themselves as Greek muses. The idea
yes.
of muses, and the idea that they're there to enliven and enrich, and it help the musicians become the musicians they're called to be.
Hmm.
And what's interesting is the Kate Hudson character of Penny Lane. She this is her breakout role. When you see her in this, you're like, why doesn't she do more? Like she's amazing,
She
and
really
she
is.
gives out this power and this passion and this light, and especially the Russell, the lead guitarist character, uh, played by Billy Crudup, he soaks it in, and it does that energy does propel his music, and
Hmm.
yet the struggle is he uses her, and to me that part of the movie is a wonderful way for Christians to start talking about how sin really can affect the beauty of life, because you have this young woman who's full of life, full of energy, full of passion, just literally lights up the screen whenever you see her and whenever she walks in a room. And because someone chose to not embrace her and care for her and kind of make a real relationship with her, but simply use her for her body, use her for her kind of her energy, she tries to kill herself. And so we have this powerful scene at the end of the movie where, like, William has to come and literally save her. Um, and to me, it's just a powerful scene of how sin just kind of corrupts us and changes the good in us and really can undermine what's magical about life.
Yeah, it's certainly symbolic of how um those who dwell in live in their sinful state can destroy others with
Yeah,
their actions.
yeah,
Um and and it's interesting to see William as almost the savior in that situation because literally he does save her life
yes,
because she overdoses on alcohol and quaaludes.
yeah,
And it's 100% like he calls the doctor, he walks her around, they
yeah,
come and they pump her stomach and
yeah,
he ends up saving her life.
yeah,
Um, and out of his, I don't know, childlike naivete, claims he loves her. Does he love her? Does he love her energy and her,
yeah.
and is
That's
she
yeah,
the question there is she somehow his muse as well?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
that's a
That's a good point. Is this idea of it's easy to see how Russell uses her, but is William really in love for who she is, or is he in love with the energy and the muse she brings? Yeah, it's
right.
an interesting question.
And I mean you can take that argument in either direction. I think there's a prominent scene
Yeah,
where William and Penny have an argument.
yeah,
They had been talking all along. She keeps saying we're going to go to Morocco. It's
yeah,
just the two of us and all that. And he says there is no Morocco. There's no Penny Lane. I don't even know your real name.
yeah,
That sort of thing. And so you can make the argument from William's perspective that yes, he really does love her because he sees through all of that.
yeah,
Then again, do we know that for certain? That's up in the air. Um, but I think the thing that, and I said this when we talked yesterday, um, this film is a real emotional roller coaster.
hmm, yeah,
Um, and not in a bad way. I mean, there's some films
yeah,
that are, emotional roller coaster that just I'm never watching that thing again.
yeah,
This one, like I think I mentioned this before. I used to be that guy that like every Tuesday or
yeah,
Thursday, I don't remember which it was, when new movies would come out in the store, I'd be at Walmart or at Target looking through the new films, seeing if I had to buy something that just came out
yeah,
on DVD or Blu-ray. I don't do that much anymore because everything's on streaming now, right?
yeah,
But this one feels like one I want to order. Like I want to go to
yeah,
Amazon and put it on my Amazon Prime wish list,
yeah, 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 yeah,
because I just enjoyed it so much. Even though it is this emotional roller coaster,
yeah,
it really was really enjoyable.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, and I think a lot of it has to do with the relationships. Um,
yeah,
Crow finds a way to tell this story that I mean there are these painful moments and these challenging moments and I think one of the prominent scenes is the band is on a plane and the plane's in a storm and the pilot comes in and we're going to try to land in a field near Toledo or something like that and
yeah,
they all think they're going to die and they start confessing to each other
yeah,
um and that turns, what is a really intense emotional moment. At the very end of it, the drummer makes a confession and everybody turns and looks at him.
yeah,
And then the pilot comes out and says, "Oh, get cleared up. We're good."
yeah,
He takes this really heavy emotional moment and then just adds that perfect touch of humor at the end where you
yeah,
go, yeah, that's life, isn't it?
yeah.
That's kind of what life is like. Like there's this intense pressure, and then something wonderful happens, and things feel a little better. You know,
Yeah. To me, what I like about Crow's instincts as a director and a writer is a lot of writers would have ended the movie with that near crash scene and
right?
everybody getting off the airplane after they kind of confessed and yelled at one another, and you're kind of in this kind of broken state of kind of the chaos of the music industry and how everybody's out for themselves, and all that kind of stuff. And they all walk away, go their different directions. A lot of people would have ended the movie there. Crow chooses to have this circle around where Penny Lane tricks. Russell thinks he's going to see Penny Lane. Penny Lane sends him to William's house so that they can make peace, and they can kind of get back to the friendship and connection that they had.
Yeah.
And that's where the movie ends. So it ends on this kind of hopeful note. I love the last question William asks Russell. He goes, the last, really almost the last thing we see in the movie, he goes, "What do you love about music?" And to me, that kind of what do you love about life is really infused in what Crow does in his movies. Is he wants to talk about even if it's dark and hard, he still wants the primary conversation to be, what do you love about life? What do you love about what you do? What do you, and I just, to me, that's just a wonderful artistic instinct. And I wish more people had it.
Yeah, yeah. Again, well, look, I'm so with you there. Like, I love. We've made. I think I've said this before. Like, I love horror movies,
Yeah.
right? But I don't like horror movies where the bad guy wins.
Yeah.
And there's more and more of those all the time. I remember the, first couple of times I saw those, and I was like, this is terrible. What an awful feeling watching this film. And now it's happening more and more
Yeah.
with, particularly with horror films, but with a lot of films,
Yes.
that there's just this kind of downer ending. Now I get it. Life sometimes is a downer.
Yeah.
For those who, you know, part of the reason that I was absent-minded yesterday
Yeah.
is that, we lost a pet yesterday
Yeah.
morning.
Mhm.
And he was a very sweet cat. I mean, look, when I would sit in my recliner with my feet up in the evening, he would come up on the recliner and then climb up on my chest and go to sleep. Like he was my buddy. And so look, that's awful, right?
Yeah.
Um and but life doesn't stay there.
Yeah.
And making movies stay there just feels like you didn't finish the story.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I think like your cat's a good example is even in that pain, we've all lost pets. I think most of us have. Even in that pain of losing that pet, it's infused also with those wonderful moments of how they got
yeah,
on your lap or how
yeah,
they seem to know when you needed them to come by and rub you or like
yep,
and to me that is life. Life is infused with magic even in the painful moments. And um I like the fact that um Cameron Crowe seems to understand that.
yeah, yeah. That his films are more of a slice of life than a
Yeah.
lot of Hollywood films. And maybe that's why people don't like him. You said that when we were
Yeah.
talking yesterday, that there are a lot of people that don't like him because he does that.
Yeah.
But wait, can we not have some hope? I
Yeah.
mean, okay, particularly as Christians, right?
Yes.
Particularly as Christian pastors, shouldn't
Yes.
we be engaged a little more in the hope side of things?
Well, I mean, I mentioned this yesterday, but we both unfortunately know pastors who have, and this is not saying the pastors I'm talking about are not the pastors who've done something horribly unethical uh, but we both know pastors who have kind of shut down and they're painting by the numbers,
Going through the
and to
motions.
me, they kind of turn into Lester Bangs kind of person where they're just cynical all the way down.
Hmm.
And I think to do ministry well, I think to be honest, I think to be a well balanced human, you have to find a way to hold on to the magic. You have to find a way to see uh, the hope that's sprinkled through life.
Yeah, I think what I was kind of relating that yesterday when we talked about, in a way, as a pastor, you have to be a fan
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like William is a fan of the
Yeah.
band, right?
Yeah.
You, as a pastor, you kind of have to be a fan of your churches and the ministries that your churches do. And if those things are cumbersome to you, or then maybe you're not in the right place. At least
Yeah.
mind space. You're not maybe the right
Yes.
mind space.
Yeah.
But you have to. You like when my churches do things like, we go to the Hope Center and prepare
Yeah.
a meal for
Yeah.
150 people.
Yeah.
Man, that's exciting to me.
Yeah.
You know, when we get involved in a community project, the Fall Festival or the 4th of July parade, those things are exciting. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what we should be doing as a church. And so
Yeah.
those things I think are, I'm a fan.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing a sermon series about the three simple rules of Methodism. Do no harm, do good, stay in love with God. And this week they're going to watch a video while I'm at a retreat about doing good. And they do a ton of stuff. I mean, just amazing amount of stuff. But like, that's to me, that is a key point of why I love being Methodist is that we center our lives around this idea of that we're called to do good, that we're called to kind of be active in the world, kind of infusing hope with people. And I think that's what we have to hold on to.
Yeah, that's to me, you're right. If you can't preach hope, if you can't talk about hope, if you can't really live into the hope, not just of your resurrection, but the hope of a future for the churches that you serve,
Yeah.
um, man, hang up your robe, Like,
Yeah.
uh, maybe that's too strong, but
Yeah.
look, if there's anything, and I say this as we are in paperwork and church conference season, okay? If there is anything that to me is a complete bummer about this job, it is the
Yeah.
administrative stuff. It's the
Yes.
reports, it's the
It's a report.
paperwork, that is tedious and tiresome for me. I love
Yes.
ministry. I love preaching. I love being with the people. I
Yeah.
love serving.
Yeah.
Um, and if that were all I had to do, yeah, I
Yeah.
could do this until I'm 95. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Absolutely.
Um, but but like this film,
Yeah.
it's not all just the fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, before we end, I do like to the journey. You kind of this is kind of again, this is kind of a hero's journey. It's an adventure for William,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I love the reality again of Crowe's choice. He recognizes that for William to be who William's called to be, he has to break away from his family, has to especially break away from his mother that's very kind of controlling and wants him to
Hmm.
be a lawyer. She says
Hmm.
several times, he's going to be a lawyer, he's going to be a lawyer. Well, William's not called to be a lawyer. We know that from Cameron Crowe's life, he loves music, he loves movies. That's what he ends up doing for the rest of his life, right? Um, and so he does need to leave home, but he chooses at the end of the movie to come back to his home and to reconnect his sister who has left earlier with his mother. And to me, it's a very powerful statement of the reality that yes, we need to find what we're individually called to, what our passions are, but a really well-grounded human being is going to recognize that they needed their roots, and they're going to also find a way to balance that with their connection with their friends and their family and their community.
I mean, you're right. And it's almost, you can use the metaphor of a tree. Like you can branch
Yeah.
out, but
Yeah.
if you have no roots, then you will be toppled by the slightest of winds, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, that's an oversimplification, I understand. But
Yes. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
the best metaphors at least embody an idea, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So what else do we want to talk about here? Because this there's I mean, there's so much great stuff in this film. I want to tell folks, look, if you have not seen this film, if you have not seen Almost Famous, it's available on, I know I rented it on Prime. I think it's free on Paramount Plus.
Yes, it's Paramount Plus. It's free on
Yeah.
Paramount Plus. Yeah.
So if you have those, the rental was like 379 or something, I
Yeah,
think on Prime.
there is some nudity, not a lot, but there is some nudity. There is sexual references and there's drugs stuff, but it's really a wonderful movie. Um,
Really is.
yeah. Um, I to me, I don't know. I think um, the need for acceptance is also a huge part of this. This idea that we need to find people that understand us, and we need to find our people. That's a huge part of this movie. Is
Mhm.
William and Penny Lane as well. What they're trying to do throughout this movie is to find the people that get them,
Yeah.
and to be surrounded by them. And even to some extent, the Stillwater, the band, is doing the same thing. You know, they're trying to find people that understand them and connect with their music. And so that idea of that all human beings search for understanding and community, I think, is something important for us as Christians to understand when we're engaging people about faith, is to recognize that there is a deep human need to be understood, to be heard, to be seen for who you are, and to be welcomed in a larger community that gets you.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's powerful. Um, it's well I think it's well illustrated here. I couldn't help but think the whole time I'm watching, like, okay, so this is sort of semi-autobiographical, right? It's
Yeah,
it's it's based on Crowe's real experience.
yeah,
Who's the band?
yeah.
Who's the real band?
Yeah, that would be interesting. I'm guessing it's a compilation of different bands that he followed and stuff. But yeah,
If I were, yeah, I don't know
yeah,
for sure. If I were gonna guess,
yeah,
Uh, it seems to me because the dynamic is that Russell is the guitar player. He's
yeah,
not the front man, he's not the vocalist,
yeah,
and yet he seems to be kind of the star of the group.
yeah.
And so it's really, the dynamic in the band is about, one guy, and that's demonstrated in the t-shirt
Yes, the T-shirt is good. Yeah,
where Russell is the only one that's in focus on the picture of
focus.
the band.
Yeah, yeah, other man.
It's wild. But
Yeah,
um this is a complete shot in the dark, but I look at it and I'm thinking, is this like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young?
that's interesting
And
because my instinct was the Eagles.
but I'm thinking like
Yeah,
somebody who went off on their
yeah,
own,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
Neil Young left that
yeah,
group and kind of went
yeah,
off on his own.
yeah,
I don't know. It's pure
yeah.
speculation. I am that's based on nothing but
Sure.
my twisted brain. So
Yeah, yeah,
don't take that for a fact. I'm
yeah.
just trying to think of the era and the bands and who
Sure.
left and
Yeah.
but it I mean look we can I think you and I could probably rave about this film for a long while. It's just such an enjoyable film.
I do realize how different the world is because there is no way. I don't know if he was 15, but I know he was underage. There is no way an underage kid gets to go be a journalist, rock journalist reporter for a major magazine
Not in
today.
2025, no.
No. No.
Way.
No way.
1970, whatever it was, 74, 75,
Yeah.
maybe, sure.
Yeah.
Uh
Yeah.
today, nah, it's never happening. That's so
And
true.
that's probably a good thing, I'll be honest.
Oh, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm absolutely not. Look, I've got a 15-year-old son. I don't want to see him running off with a rock band. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I
Yeah.
get it. And Frances McDormand as the mother, I mean, she was
Yes.
really
Oh, she was
she's
amazing.
fantastic in this film as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
She plays such a great part as sort of the doting mother,
Yeah.
and yet she's also this kind of directing. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
she's William's conscience, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I,
Oh,
I I also think it's a good to be reminded that as parents, as leaders, we have to recognize that our hopes for the people that we lead or the folks, the kids in our care, that may not be what they're actually called to do and what they're passionate about, and we need to allow them to find that for themselves.
yeah, sure. It yeah, and you and I can both say that about our own kids.
Yes, of course.
Ways like, hey, I would love for you to do this, but
Yeah,
if that's not your thing, right?
yeah.
My my older son, he's told me many times he wants to play NFL football. I would love to see you play NFL football, son. I You're going to have to work really, really hard to do it, but
Yeah, like I always tell my kids, I go, I follow your dreams, but also have backup plans.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
So, all right, we're running towards time here. Now,
yeah,
we did have discussion yesterday and
yeah,
pick out a film. We want to stay with that.
yeah. That's fine.
Okay. So when I was in my teens and early 20s, I read a series of books a number of times, which were made into films later on, directed by Peter Jackson. Um, I'll tell this. I've told this story before. The first time I saw the first film in the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yeah,
So the first film is The Fellowship of the Ring.
yeah.
I sat in a theater, and I don't even remember if there were other people in the theater at the time. I know it was in the theater, but I sat there on the big screen watching this film and just like tears running down my cheeks because oh my God, it's real. Like
Yeah,
it's just felt so real. These stories that I had known from the time that I was a kid.
yeah,
Um, my wife, well, we had a breakfast with the pastor last Saturday,
yeah.
and so people asked questions, and one of the questions was, "What's your bucket list trip?"
Mm.
And I said, "I would love to go to New Zealand." And my wife said, "New Zealand? Why?" I said, because I want to see the places where they filmed the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So all that is to say that this week we're going to watch The Fellowship of the Ring from the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the first film in the series, the extended version, if you can find it, it is on HBO Max.
Oh, Max. Yeah,
And if not, watch the regular version. I don't think there's some differences. There's some stuff in there that
yeah.
you don't get in the theatrical cut. But um, this is like when Evan and I started recording this podcast almost 80 episodes ago. Um, we first started talking about, what's your favorite films? And my top film, if you want to call it one, or at least three, is the Lord of the Rings trilogy,
Mm.
which of course I have on Blu-ray in the extended version. So we just go right over into my bookcase and take them out and watch them. So that's what we're going to watch this week. Now, John, you said you not read the books, right?
I have not read the books. I've only seen the movies once apiece. So you are going to lead this adventure.
Well, we for those who are not aware, J.R.R. Tolkien was a Catholic Christian.
Mhm.
He was a contemporary of C.S. Lewis, who was Lewis Protestant?
Anglican.
Yeah,
Anglican.
Anglican, right. Um, and they taught at the same time at
Yep.
Oxford University. They used to meet on a regular basis at the Eagle and Child Pub, which is I think it's just north of the campus of Oxford, to discuss their writings. So The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, The Chronicles of Narnia, all
Yeah.
that were written around the same time as Lord of the Rings.
I think Tolkien was a big part of bringing Lewis to faith. Am I wrong about that?
I wouldn't know off the top of my head, but I've got books. I could find
Yeah.
out.
Okay. Yeah.
Could find out. Um, but the point is, they were contemporaries. They used to meet
Yeah.
together to talk about their writing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so there's a lot of very prominent Christian theme. You will
Yeah.
not lack for something to talk about
Uh,
in this film.
yes, yeah.
Not in any way, shape, or
It's
form.
low hanging fruit.
It, it very much so. It's very much so. So, friends, that's what we're going to watch for next week. We're going to watch the Fellowship of the Ring from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Until next Friday, keep on finding God in the dark. We will see you all again next week.
Bye.
Oh, hey, you made it all the way to the end of the video. Well, thanks for watching. We appreciate your support. And friends, if you find anything that's really wonderful or entertaining or helpful in your Christian walk, we want to encourage you to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share this video with your friends. We publish every Friday morning at 10 a.m. And we hope that you continue to find these videos and these discussions entertaining and informative. Take care and God bless. Bye.